Surat, which is the first city which has started Anti-Romeo drive soon after the new Chief Minister sworn into power. Although people say that apart from these Eve-teasers, there are family members of these girls who come to drop these girls to their college and schools, who are also being harassed in the name of this particular drive.
घर वालों के सामने बुलाएंगे और जो भी जिस तरह से उनको समझा बुझा के या उनके खिलाफ कार्रवाई करके उनका विरोध करेंगे और इसमें मजबूत टाइप के लोगों पर सख्ती की जाएगी।
ऐसा नहीं है कि बदमाश हर टाइम यहाँ खड़ा हुआ है और वही फंसता है, कभी कभी आम आदमी भी फंस जाता है।
पुलिस जिन्हें पकड़ती है, मैं असलियत बोल रहा हूँ, वो तो लेने वाले खड़े रहते हैं और जो एक्चुअल में करने वाले होते हैं वो पुलिस के कभी हाथ नहीं आते। वो तो पहले से उन्हें खुशबू आ जाओ तो भाग जाते हैं।
कुछ लोगों को परेशानी हो सकती है, लेकिन उत्तर प्रदेश का लॉ एंड ऑर्डर, जहां कुछ कानून व्यवस्था थी नहीं, गुंडा राज्य था, उसको ठीक करने के लिए जो जो उचित होगा उसे योगी जी करेंगे।
6 महीने का हमने योगी जी को समय दिया है, कुछ करें। अभी तो कुछ किया नहीं, अभी तो हम जो कुछ कहेंगे वो कहा जाएगा आप ही की सरकार में हो रहा था, मैं इसको दूर कर रहा हूँ। तो मैं तो चाहूँगा कुछ करें।
अगर पुलिस संगठन कोई ईव-टीजिंग रोकने के लिए बनाता है तो ये व्यवहारिक कदम होगा और स्वागत योग्य कदम होगा, पर अगर पुलिस ऑर्गेनाइजेशन से अलग हटकर कुछ बनेगा तो वो उचित नहीं।
You're watching the urban debate, and the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath of Uttar Pradesh has delivered on one of his poll promises. Anti-Romeo squads that was promised by the BJP during the elections have swung into action across the state to grab hold of perverts who are indulging in eve-teasing. In fact, in several places, police officers have been seen nabbing eve-teasers outside of women's colleges and other public places. Like you can see on your screen, these young men have been rounded up, loaded into police vans. We understand their parents have been called in several cases. They've been asked to grab their ears and actually say sorry. This seems like a drastic measure. The question we are asking this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is the situation in UP, as far as crime against women is concerned, which is a desperate situation, does that desperate situation call for drastic measures? And if it does call for drastic measures, is this the measure that will in fact solve the problem? The question is about discretion that's being allowed to police officers and what happens in that case if it borders then on moral policing. But there is no arguing with the fact that the numbers as far as crime against women in Uttar Pradesh is concerned are appalling and something desperately needed to be done. I want to ask this question of each and every one of you watching at home. If you are a parent of a young boy or a young girl, how do you feel about this move that has been introduced by the new Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh? Do you believe it was necessary? If you do believe that, pick up the phone and call us and be part of the conversation this evening. Joining me in the studio is Naveen Chomal, Senior Advocate at the Mumbai High Court, Swapnil Kothari, Senior Lawyer in Mumbai as well, Pawar, Ex-IPS officer who brings in a very keen understanding of what happens when the police has to prevent crime and what happens when they're given the kind of discretion that we're talking about. RP Singh is the National Secretary of the BJP. Pankhurhi Pathak, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Sanjay Jha, national spokesperson of the Congress Party, and Yogita Bhayana, who's a women's rights activist. Rahul Easwar will also join us through the course of this conversation. I'm just going to open this up for opening arguments from everybody on this panel one by one, because we're going to try and make this as clear as possible for our audience. I'm going to start with Mr. RP Singh of the BJP. Mr. Singh, this was a promise quite fairly being made by the BJP. Do you believe that this is the right thing to do at this point to bring down the numbers in terms of crime against women in UP?
Do you know what was the situation in UP in last few years? Girls would stop going to schools. Last year, something like 200 odd girls from one district, I have the name of the district, Meerganj, Bareilly, they refused to go to school because of the eve-teasing. It has been happening in every district. So what is our solution to it? And you also know that eve-teasing is the first step toward women harassment. By eve-teasing, then it leads to molestation, then it leads to raping, and then probably to gang raping and all. if you can nip this in the bud and give some sense to the people that how do you need to treat women. You just showed a clip on your channel when some person was tried to gog some girl in Bengaluru. This is a quite bad situation in UP. And what is happening in UP, it starts with eve-teasing, with the woman harassment. I mean, there was a case of a minister who was absconding and where Supreme Court has to order for a rape case to be filed against him, but police didn't act it. So everyone should welcome this step that Yogi ji has taken a step, first step to ensure that women get respect and no one look with a bad eye or a way they've been treating women till now.
All right, Sanjay Jha, I want to bring in Sanjay Jha of the Congress Party. Sanjay Jha, do you agree? Let's be honest about the fact, Sanjay, that the numbers of rapes and murders and complaints we receive on crime against women in UP are appalling, and it's a desperate situation. Do you stand with the government of Uttar Pradesh at this point in this move to bring in an anti-Romeo squad?
Faye, I think this is a political hypocrisy, very evidently. If you look at the numbers, and since we are going by statistics, let's look at them with a very hard, dispassionate way. Sexual assaults, rape, abduction against women has been highest in the state of Madhya Pradesh now for several years. You also have a BJP government in Madhya Pradesh for the last 15 years. The question it begs the question, why hasn't the BJP attempted an anti-Romeo squad in Madhya Pradesh over the last several years? There is no answer. Let me tell you the truth. The truth is, and this is worrying, because what you are witnessing at the moment is the likely potential of a police state being formed. How do you define a Romeo? How does the police identify a supposed culprit? I mean, there is so much of nebulousness at this moment of time that even the police officers or the constables are not aware as to how do they potentially identify a person who could be actually indulging in eve-teasing or harassing women. So there is a gray area. It is subject to massive abuse, and this could lead to selective targeting, which brings me to the fundamental point of my argument, which is that this government of Mr. Yogi Adityanath actually is just using this as nothing. It's basically love jihad masquerading as an official policy of an anti-Romeo squad. I'm actually taking strong objection to the choice of the word Romeo. Why Romeo? I mean, this is a question that we need to ask.
Thank you.
I mean, there could have been any other character, picked up from any folklore, which could have been associated with this. And the fundamental point, that end of day, if you look at where they're already implementing this today, they are in very communally sensitive zones. This is the BJP's ploy. Ghar Wapsi, Love Jihad is a very central theme of Yogi Adityanath's politics. So I think what you are going to possibly see in Uttar Pradesh is a lot of fear amongst young people. The police can go and catch and arrest anybody. I mean, you don't know how long those trials can take. It can damage somebody's individual reputation. It will result in a lot of social tension. Nobody objects to any step being taken to improve law and order. There is no denying that. But if this is the way they are going to go forward, with a complete unilateral powers being given to the police, the ordinary citizen, the young boys and girls today being challenged that if you have an affection for somebody from another community, you deserve to be actually arrested, I think is a very worrisome development.
All right, let's address that one first point about a police state and our opening arguments here by YC Pawar, ex-IPS officer. Do you believe that there's a danger here, Mr. Pawar, of a police state with discretion being given to police officers to arrest whomever they think might be an eve-teaser without evidence?
The danger in all police functioning is always there. Not only implementation of law, but even for taking action, there is a danger. If there is a danger to the members of public, there is always a danger to police officers also, or policemen. Now, it's not absolute power. A policeman takes action not on the spot. He has to observe the procedure of law. He has to go to a officer, to a police station. Then inquiry is being conducted. You take a simple case of a drunkard driving. A policeman does not know whether he is drunk or not unless he is tested, unless inquiries are conducted. Now, like that, the inquiries will be conducted, and if some policeman exceeds his rights and does something excesses, there are very stringent punishments in the police department. In fact, I am afraid that the punishments in the police department are so stringent that at one point of time, people condemn those punishments also. If we give front row on ground, people say that is inhuman in this period. Now, I really don't know what society exactly wants. If somebody does positive thing, that is taken negative. Somebody does negative, that is treated as positive. Now, it's an individual perception, individual view. Speech of expression and fundamental right of expression and speech is granted. So, we are all at liberty to say anything. But let us assess the social status of the problem and whether police are given powers in all matters, not only eve-teasing. Police are given, as ordinary man can be picked up on the road and inquiries can be conducted whether he is committed theft or not. Unless the inquiries are conducted, it cannot be decided.
Right. Swapnil Kothari, as a lawyer, do you believe that the law is defined well enough for the police to understand who an eve-teaser is, or in this particular case, a Romeo?
No, not really, because I think the area is absolutely nebulous. And first of all, my initial objection is to the usage of the word Romeo. I hope that, I think Romeo, as far as all we know, it was a person who was a star-crossed lover. And I don't think that term is merited here, for the simple reason that here we are talking about somebody who does not have any respect for women. I hope this does not invite any unwanted litigation from the aficionados of the English literature. Now, coming to the area of the nebulousness, that as to whether it's well defined or not, I think there needs to be more clarity, especially under the UP Gunda Act, which is the governing act in this scenario, as to what would constitute eve-teasing, what would constitute obscenity, what would constitute, assailing the dignity of a woman here, and none of these things are defined here. So it will absolutely depend upon the police officer, who probably hails from a small town, or in the alternative, if he hails from a big city, then I think he would take a little bit of a more liberal view. This sort of gesture reminds me of, I would like to liken it to, some ancient city of Sparta in the Greek mythology, which had a council called the Gerousia, which was considered to be ruled by men over 60. So, as if they were the sole repositories of wisdom and custodians of culture.
In this case, that's the police.
In this case, this is the police. Right. So I believe that this tends to open up a Pandora's box.
But Swapnil, respond to what Mr. Pawar said, which is that the police have this discretion in all parts of the law, that the police have the discretion to implement the law, and then it's always followed by an investigation. That's how the Indian Penal Code functions. How is this different?
Right. The reason why this is different is because this sort of a thing has started with the state. Say, I would like to take the example of 3 more other states where, as Mr. Sanjay Jha mentioned, that, there are more rape cases in Madhya Pradesh. So it's Bihar, Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Uttar Pradesh. These are the 4 states. I think these states, in these states, the constitution is a bit blurred. And, the way the procedures enshrined in the Criminal Procedure Code and also under the governing police rules always tend to take a backseat, because they are pretty much dominated by caste, creed and religion. Now, when you have...
But should that stop us from bringing in hard rules to solve problems?
True, that shouldn't stop us, but then I think that there need to be a little bit of a clarificatory guidelines as to what needs to constitute obscenity, what is eve-teasing. There were certain examples which were pointed out on, on television, that there was a young boy who was standing outside the college and he was considered to be a Romeo. If I'm standing outside a college, even if it's an entirely girls' college, why can't I just stand? What am I doing? Am I assumed to be doing something or going to do something? There are instances of a person visiting his girlfriend at night, and there is a problem with that. There is a problem with 2 people, a man and a woman, riding on a bicycle. Is this, the beginning of Taliban? Because that is what I'm afraid of. Is it a democracy, or are we moving towards a theocracy? Or some sort of a mobocracy.
Naveen Chomal, respond to what Swapnil Kothari has said as a fellow lawyer. Is the law clear enough to implement an anti-Romeo squad?
I am first of all surprised to hear this type of argument from a lawyer, because our law is already very much clear on this point, where stalking of a woman is prohibited under the law, even making a gesture against a woman is prohibited under the law. And please appreciate that this particular word, roadside Romeo, is not just confined to Uttar Pradesh, but even in Maharashtra also, where there has been a Congress government consistently for past so many years has been used.
No, but what is the definition of roadside Romeo here?
So it has nothing to do with the literature character of Romeo, but it is just a word coined to consider the people who are roadside teasing the girls, trying to harass them. So let us not enter into the wrong realm. Let us focus on the problem. So Uttar Pradesh is a place where there has been a big leader from Samajwadi Party, Mr. Mulayam Singh Raja, who has shocked not only the Indian nation but humanity when he said कि लड़कों से गलती हो जाती है and tried to play down the acts of rape. So this has been the situation in Uttar Pradesh. So we must welcome the government who has taken a very bold decision and firm decision to implement the law which is already in existence. Of course, if there is some other part of the country where Congress is not ruling, so they can point out, Sanjay Jha can point out that there also...
No, let's not make it political. Let's not make it political. The question is, what is the definition of a Romeo?
That is not political. Let us not get political. That's what I am saying. So just because Congress has lost the elections, they should not blame the government who is doing the right...
No, you didn't answer my question. Naveen Chomal, what is the definition of Romeo in this case? Do the police officers who are out on the road implementing this rule, do they have in their hands a definition of what a Romeo is?
See, Romeo is just a very common word used all over India for this type of people. So this is not for the first time being used by the Uttar Pradesh government. All over different states also are using the very same word. So Romeo is not the word. Ultimately, the aim of that particular squad is...
But is this your definition or is this the definition under the law of the word Romeo?
No. It is just colloquially being used.
It's a colloquially used definition. So it leaves some grey area there for interpretation.
Enter into the wrong realm of cracking our head whether Romeo word should be used or some other word should be used. Ultimately, what the purpose
let me just okay, fair enough. Let me just bring in the two women who haven't spoken up till now, and I think these are very important voices. Yogita Bhayana and of course Pankhurhi Pathak. Yogita Bhayana, I will come to you first. There is no definition of the colloquial usage of the word Romeo. What then does it leave us with on the ground with the police officers and the constables who are implementing this law?
Faye, first of all, as an activist, I always believe that an eve-teaser is a potential rapist. Okay. So in a way, it is a good move, because if they are given the liberty, they take the next move, which is the rape and sexual harassment. So in a way, it is a good step. As an activist, I feel so. But definitely, using Romeo is not the right thing to do, because stalkers are psychopaths. You can't compare Romeo. Romeo is a romantic character.
Okay, okay, Yogita, you're making a very good point. Let's focus on the area that you're an expert in, which is crime against women, and this is the area that you work in day in and day out. You believe, you said very clearly, that eve-teasers graduate if they're not stopped to becoming rapists. Now,
at the same time, I have my apprehension that whether this law will, there are grey areas in every law and every legal aspect, but whether it will lead to the moral policing only, or it will lead to the real culprits will be arrested and action would be taken, or they'll just do uthak baithak and they'll get away with it. I mean, if you are setting up a law like this, I mean, if you are setting up a squad like this, you need to really take on them and set up the example rather than leaving them scot-free after some stupid punishments, you know. They really need to be taught lessons. And secondly, I would like to raise some points here also. As he mentioned that BJP has taken this move, which is very welcoming, but at the same time, how many ministers this time they have allegation of women sexual harassment in their ministry right now? So first of all, they should have taken up on them. Secondly, I would like to also say, Mr. Sanjay Jha said that Congress-led states have done better than this. So I'm sorry to say, whether it is BJP, Congress or Aam Aadmi Party in Delhi, I mean, women's safety should have been the first priority, but in a way it is good that the women's safety priority has been taken on the first things which the Chief Minister has done. But at the same time, he needs to work on the specific points, which is like stalking comes under, like how they are going to differentiate. The grey area has to be clear first. and which punishments they are going to set, or are they letting them go, with the small punishments after they identify who's a stalker?
Okay, so Yogita Bhayana very clearly saying that this should be stronger, that actually this is a good idea, but it actually should have a stronger implementation. That's a very interesting point. Pankhurhi Pathak of the Samajwadi Party, where do you stand on anti-Romeo squads?
No one can deny that eve-teasing is a big problem in our country, and not only in the state of Uttar Pradesh but everywhere, even in the national capital. But we have differences with the approach and implementation of what is being done in UP right now. We would support any step in this direction, but since this word anti-Romeo has been coined by the BJP, it sort of makes us skeptical, nervous, because it reminds us of the infamous Operation Majnu, or the attacks on women and on couples during Valentine's Day by different groups. So this is a sort of thing that cannot be allowed. Any power given to the police cannot be arbitrary, it cannot be unrestricted, and what we have seen throughout the day today is quite alarming. The way people were harassed, be it in Meerut, be it in Lucknow or Jhansi. So I think it's very surprising, and it's something that should be taken note of, because when a young boy who's just standing outside a college or who's roaming around with a girl is caught by the police and he's an adult and then his parents are called, I think that is a sort of a violation of his fundamental right of privacy, of his dignity, and I think such humiliation can also have a very bad psychological impact, especially when the concerned people are innocent. So I think all these issues need to be looked into. And just to answer to the hypocrisy of the BJP people here, I would like to say that why have such measures not been taken in Delhi, which is supposedly the rape capital, and in Madhya Pradesh, even though just a few days back there was a news of a girl who committed suicide due to eve-teasing in Madhya Pradesh, but no such step was taken in Madhya Pradesh. So this should not be an artificial exercise, and the police should not turn it into moral policing, which is totally wrong, and which totally takes away the rights of our
do you
young
agree
people.
with what Yogita Bhayana said, that the crime numbers against women in UP are very, very bad, and eve-teasers normally graduate to becoming rapists and they have to be stopped as soon as they get started?
That is true. See, anyone who's indulging in such an act can, obviously he's a potential rapist, but then there are other ways to deal with this problem. The state already has a 1090 helpline which has solved 6.5 lakh cases in the past, and you can take it further, you can modernize it, you can create more awareness. I think our young girls need to be empowered to deal with such problems. But
see, you have done nothing in your tenure. If somebody is doing something good, you should, irrespective of any political party, everybody should welcome any move on the women's safety should be welcomed by all the parties across India. I mean, why they start doing petty politics? I mean, they should welcome this move. Samajwadi Party has done nothing.
Very true.
On the other hand, they have done bad to the women's safety, by making such remarks.
I would agree. I started by saying that we'll welcome any step, but the power with the police.
Okay, ladies, let's open up the debate here. Let's open up the debate. Everybody, Rahul Easwar, I will come to you. Everybody's had their say. This is where we are. Rahul Easwar, who just joined us in this conversation. UP is a desperate situation.
Before you proceed on it, can I read something out for you?
Okay, Mr. RP Singh. RP Singh, go
Before
ahead.
you proceed, can I read something out for you?
Go ahead, Mr. RP Singh.
Please, I'm reading out the tweet of the DG of UP. He says, safety of girls, ladies is the sole intent of anti-Romeo squad. No moral policing. This is the official tweet of the DG of police. Now, I'm shocked the way the Congress spokesperson was trying to give it a communal color, and where the SP spokesperson is trying to safeguard his leaders. I mean, how? What was the comment of Mr. Mulhan Singh Yadav? Ladke to ladke hote hain. Pankhurhi Pathak ji remember those words. And Pankhurhi Pathak ji, Gayatri, Prajapati was out, and your 109 you never worked. We are simply asking police to act. We are simply asking police to act now. The police in your time was finding out Buffalo Officer Azam Khan.
Okay, Sanjay Jha.
The culprit.
Can I point out one thing?
Only what we are told them is to act now. It's time for them to act.
I don't want to shout over him, so when he's done, I would like to make a comment.
So Sanjay Jha, I'm asking a very simple question here. It is true, and you know better than anybody else.
What about the
Yes, you know better than anybody else. 1 second, Mr. R.P. Singh. That we track crime against women very passionately on this channel. It is true that UP is a desperate situation where young girls drop out of school, they drop out of college, they can barely cross the street without being eve-teased or stalked in some way or the other. Why can't we acknowledge that this, even though it is a drastic move, might be a necessary move at this point in order to return normalcy to the state of Uttar Pradesh? Sanjay Jha.
Faye, let me tell you, I think I've heard all the panelists and everybody's agreed that if eve-teasing or harassment, sexual harassment, stalking, there have been acid attacks on women. These are very, very grave issues. And this is beyond just a challenge, for one state. It's a national challenge. We all know the rapes are happening right under Prime Minister Narendra Modi's nose in Delhi. And, we have seen what a disastrous performance of the Ministry of Home Affairs that is evident on records.
So Sanjay Jha, let's steer away from the politics and answer just the question I asked you. Hang on, before everybody just starts yelling.
Why can't you just let it be a question?
1 second, please, one at a time. One at a time. Sanjay Jha, the question is simply this. Drastic measures for a drastic situation. 1 second, Mr. R.P. Singh. Sanjay Jha, drastic measures for a drastic situation.
Let me tell you, you take...
1 second.
Well, I do believe that extraordinary situations demand extraordinary solutions. Nobody's going to deny that. The question is, it can't be, singular in one state and is completely ignored in the others. I mean, that's exactly the point of conflict.
So your argument then, Sanjay Jha, is that the anti-Romeo squad should also be brought into Madhya Pradesh?
Are you okay with UP or not?
So you're saying that the anti-Romeo squad should also be brought into Madhya Pradesh?
Mr. Singh, would you remain quiet for a second, please?
Mr. Singh,
Mr. Singh, would you remain quiet? I want to make a point. The Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Singh,
1 second. Mr. R.P. Singh,
shouting people down.
Mr. R.P. Singh, 1 second.
Down and I will talk until you hear me. I will talk until you hear me, Mr. Singh.
Mr. Singh, 1 second. Mr. Singh, just take 1 second. We want to hear each other out. That's the only way we can have a decent debate. Sanjay Jha, go ahead.
Absolutely. The truth, Faye, is this, that Yogi Adityanath's statement on women are extremely regressive. You can see it. It's available all over YouTube. The second point, you know what he said? He said every time a Muslim man marries a Hindu woman, Hindus should take away 100 Muslim women. This is the language of the Chief Minister that establishes and corroborates the charges that this is nothing but love jihad being used as an anti-Romeo squad.
So, okay, all right. So I've heard your arguments. I've heard your arguments. Let me bring in Rahul Easwar. Right. Okay, Sanjay Jha, I'm going to ask.
This is a subterfuge to harass a certain minority community.
Because their energy can be destructible.
Right, agreed. There are reports of the Chief Minister having said all of those things, but I want to focus only on the anti-Romeo squads. And let's be honest, the anti-Romeo squads right now are targeting men and not women. Rahul Easwar, and both Sanjay Jha and Ms. Pathak of the Samajwadi Party said there are other states that are BJP ruled which are worse off than Uttar Pradesh. Is that an argument then to bring in the anti-Romeo squads to all of those states?
For God's sake, let us not politicize issues. Women issue is something we should all agree on. And if any government is doing such a good thing, may it be Congress government or BJP government, may it be Yogi Adityanath ji or Siddaramaiah ji, let them do such a good work and we should appreciate it. Why can't we rise above politics to see such a good move? And as we all know that many Indian states have these issues. If UP can, because of the appalling law and order issue in the state, if some good measure can come up and we can also tackle issues. See, why can't we support it? Why do we have to see everything in a political narrow prism? Can't we be broad-minded and see that it is a good measure and it will bring good dividends? Everybody agrees that it shouldn't be moral policing, but it is policing. It is not moral policing. You are opposing policing in the name of moral policing. You are opposing good policing in the name of Yogi Adityanath. You are opposing good ideas in the name because it's a BJP government. Let us rise above BJP Congress divide. This is a great move, and I believe all good women activists should come forward and support this.
Okay, so here's my point here. We've heard everybody out. Here's my point here. On this channel, we track crime against women very, very passionately, and we take it very, very seriously. The truth is that it is a desperate, desperate situation. There is no way around that. And it's a desperate situation in all of our states, in all of our governments, irrespective of which party that government is from. Now, my point here is this. Desperate situations call for drastic measures, and this could be one of those drastic measures. Let us step away from the politics and just look at it for what it is. Now, my next question to this panel is simply this. Would we have been better off with a definition of Romeo in the hands of every police officer and constable going out onto the road? If we set aside the politics of it, if we accept that this drastic measure was necessary, and I want to take this, Naveen, I want to take this question to Mr. Y.C. Pawar. Would the police officers have been better equipped to do their jobs, Mr. Pawar, if someone had defined Romeo for them? Because we understand it is a colloquial term. There's no definition. I could define it differently. You would define it differently. Should there have been a definition?
The definition of obscenity, the molestation, the rape has been absolutely clear by Indian Penal Code, and there is no need of separately defining all that. Now, if there are some mistakes, if people find that there is some mistake in using some words in this road Romeo word, that can be corrected. That is not a big issue. The issue which we are discussing, as you rightly pointed out, whether a drastic problem needs a drastic action or not. To me, yes. Not only drastic, I don't mind even to some extent high-handedness. If it exceeds the minimum let-down norms, yes, man can be punished. And there are ways and means and methods. But sheer out of the fear that a constable will use powers, and whether it is appropriate to give powers to a constable's education level is that only. We have got many politicians of that level, and they are enacting laws in the assembly and parliament. Now, police is a state subject. Now, it is for this point I wanted to clear out. It's a state subject, and it is for each and every state to do what they want to. Center interferes only when need is required, need arises. Otherwise, it's a police subject. Now, why Madhya Pradesh and why not Uttar Pradesh? Why Uttar Pradesh only? Now, let us appreciate a state which is coming forward for taking action. We would see to it that we should have another panel meeting. If there are excesses by police and police cross their limits, we can discuss that, and police officers can be dealt with. They are being dealt with. Now, police custody atrocities, deaths are being investigated by state crime branch, not with the local police. Right. Now, what people want exactly? Whether police should do their duty or do not do their duty. If they do something, people say, why are they doing? If they don't do, why they don't do?
Because the criticism on the police after the crime, yes, you can't have both. You can't have both.
Cake and
yes. So, Mr. Pawar, your point is the criticism on the police when the crime, after the crime happens, is so harsh that you should allow the police to do their jobs.
Romeo for you.
Okay, Mr. R.P. Singh has the definition of Romeo for us. Mr. Singh, go ahead.
As per me, I mean, I'm not going with the literary meaning, but as per me, the Romeo here means the person who stalks or harasses or eve-teases women. That's all. And if police want to grab that man, take action against that man, there's nothing wrong.
I want to make a point.
It has just started. I mean, the first day you are making so much of noise, and all that visuals which you are showing on your channel are not the visuals of the day. There's an earlier visual which has happened some time back, some 2 years back or 3 years back. So don't mingle up things. And it's a great step taken by Mr. Yogi Adityanath.
Let me be very clear. Let me be very clear, Mr. R.P. Singh. These visuals were shot today. These visuals were shot today by the ANI and by our sister channel Times Now. These are today's visuals. They have been verified. They have been brought in by a journalist who is an employee of this organization. I can verify for this for our viewership tonight that all of the visuals that you're seeing on the screen are from today. They are not from earlier. They are from today. And what you see right now are plain clothes.
One of the videos which are showing has been shown earlier also. And if you want, I'll just dig into my phone and show it to you now.
Mr. Singh is indulging in post-truth
fake news. Let's not get derailed. Let's not get derailed. Mr. Singh, I appreciate the fact that you gave us a definition of Romeo. But Swapnil Kothari and Naveen Chomal, I'll come to you. Sanjay Jha, I'll come to you after this. Swapnil Kothari, R.P. Singh very clearly said, this is my definition. Now, we all have definitions of everything, and my problem is with it not being defined in the law. If it is being part of the law, if the police is being asked to act on something, then they have to have in their hand a clear definition in any language that they may need of what the law means when they say anti-Romeo.
Right. First of all, I agree with Mr. Singh here to the extent that the end is noble, but the means are not absolutely clear and objective to that extent. So I think lawyers should mostly primarily focus on objectifying, or rather objectivizing every single definition in the best possible manner that there is, so that we have something in our hands that if should the police digress from that definition, then the victim has an action against the police, and likewise the police is also safe in the fact that, look, I have this definition and this is what the person in question was doing, which is why I went ahead and did what I did. So he's protected by the umbrella of the definition. Rather than expressing surprises, the lawyers must focus on this. And secondly, what I would like to point out is that let us bypass the politics, because this kind of playing musical chairs on politics is only going to derail the very, very vexed issue of women's safety. Now, as far as I'm not saying that this has to be done only in one state, this should be done pan-India wherever there are problems that women are facing. And we must focusing on the fact that whether the Romeo has been defined or not, this is something which drastically needs definition, because we have seen campaigns after campaigns in this country now, that Kiss of Love protests in Kerala, the Pink Chaddi campaign in some another state, then we have other campaigns also which have taken place in Maharashtra. Just to point out an analogy, this is for the exponential.
So right now, if I understand your stand, Swapnil, you are saying that you believe that this is a good move, that the intention is in the right place. Correct. All we need are clearer definitions of how the police, or the borders within the police, within which the police need to perform. I have Santosh Tandon on the phone line from Mumbai. Santosh, very quickly, go ahead. Santosh?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Very quickly, go ahead. Tell us what you'd like to say.
I have stayed most of my life in UP, so I know how it feels when your sister or your partner gets eve-teased. I think the panelists are just out of sync, and I think they have to go to the ground reality where you cannot even walk on the street of Lucknow, be it Kanpur. I think they have to just walk in and then see everybody is out there to touch you, touch your girl whom you are walking with. I think it's a very good move by Yogi. I don't subscribe to his ideological way, but I must say that this is the first time somebody is taking a good stand against a woman, against the people who are after women. So that's a very short
right. Thank you, Santosh.
Indian's opinion.
Right. Pankhurhi Pathak, do you still stand against this move after you've heard what Santosh Tandon said?
In Lucknow, yesterday, the women were being harassed.
I made myself very clear that we don't have a problem with the intention. We have differences with the approach. There are certain necessary questions that need to be raised. Have you trained and equipped these people, these policemen, to deal with such a problem? Have you issued any proper guidelines? Today, half a month I live in Lucknow, so please don't.
And then go and travel there in
Mr. R.P. Singh, a good way to respect women is to listen to them when they're speaking. Mr. Singh,
see, there are...
Respect women.
Can I complete?
Yes, please allow her to finish. Ms. Pathak, go ahead.
See, my point is that we need to explore if there are better options to deal with such a problem. A few years back, when I was a student in Delhi University's North Campus, we used to have regular police patrols, and we used to have female police constables standing outside our college, and that used to be quite a deterrent without actually harassing anyone. Today we saw when one of these female police officers was asked that what will you do once this person is nabbed? She said we don't know. She said we don't know. Probably we'll just give them a warning, call their parents and let them off. So there is no clear-cut policy, there is no clear-cut guidelines. And you cannot just go ahead with the policy to score some... You cannot score political brownie points on something like this.
Who is trying to score political brownie points, ma'am? The opposition parties are...
So let me just put this out there on this debate. First of all, let's listen to each other.
Chief Minister thinks about women.
One second.
He said that they should be restricted, they should be kept inside the house because their energy can be destructive for the society.
All right, let's focus on the point here. Rahul Easwar, do you agree that there should be a clearer definition of the rules of Romeos, of young men, telling young men what they can and cannot do in UP? You cannot stand here, you cannot congregate there.
I agree with the media suggestion. The government and the police can come up with the do's and don'ts. That's a very creative suggestion from the media which has been pursuing women issues consistently for a long period of time. Let us have a more clearer definition. Let us not communalize it. Let us not politicize it. Let us have do's and don'ts. And in an age where there is a lot of internet pornography, there is a lot of photography, morphing, there is a lot of attack on women. When a woman is raped every 20 minutes in India, we need to have such drastic measures. And beyond every other prism, let us look at it, women's safety prism. Let us have maybe this, having a much more clearer definition of Romeo would help. That can be done. But every girl knows the pain she goes through when she goes in buses, when she goes through public places. And anybody who is opposing this is opposing the good intention of protecting women in our land. And all political parties, I believe, should support Yogi and BJP in this great measure. And this thing can be done in other states too. If the word Romeo offends you, another word can be used. But the intention is well placed, the policy is well placed. All the feedback should be accepted by the party.
Right. I want to bring in Yogita. Yogita, let's accept the fact that from where we started off, we have now reached on this panel a consensus almost, barring Sanjay Jha and Ms. Pathak, a consensus that the intention is in the right place, that what we need is a clearer law. And I completely stand by this. We need a clearer law. We need a definition in the hands of the police of what a Romeo is. Also, for all of the young people in UP, they need a clear rule of what will be considered Romeoism and when they will be picked up and what they should not do. Once you put it down on paper, it makes it far easier for everybody to execute and follow that law. Yogita Bhayana.
Faye, let me tell you one thing, like we've been discussing a lot of issues on women's safety. This is a little step towards women's safety. At least somebody has taken a step and we should stand by the gentleman, whichever his ideology must be. But this action is positive for women's safety. Number one, it might be a small step, but it will lead to big changes if effectively executed, as I said earlier. And I would also like to mention here that as Madam Pathak was saying that, this has loopholes. I agree with you, but at least they have done something. Samajwadi Party had done nothing. So rather than again politicizing it, you should stand by it. And also, Faye, to define what is stalking, anything which makes a woman uncomfortable by touching, by the gesture, even by the
available 24 hours, and you can still put in an RTI and see how many cases we have solved through that helpline number.
We need immediate actions, madam. We waited 5 years. You did nothing on women's safety. I have dealt cases in UP myself. I mean, it was such a poor state. Right now also I'm struggling to get my cases solved. So this is really a pathetic state, which definitely, I
agree, there are problems, but you cannot just go onto the streets and start beating up people or humiliating them publicly without even identifying who the culprit is.
I think they will why are women having a balance in mind. The question is why are women planners?
Let me bring it. Okay, all right. Let me bring it. Sanjay Jha and RP Singh, eyeball to eyeball. 1 second, Sanjay Jha.
Every law is misused in this country. So let it be a women's safety law. I mean, let it be. I mean, every law is misused in this country.
Sanjay Jha and RP Singh. Sanjay Jha, given now that the entire panel nearly agrees that the intention of this law was in the right place, do you still believe that this was a bad move? Do you still believe, from the point of view of the women in UP, the young girls who are still struggling to walk the streets, to take a bus, to use public transport, that do you still believe that this move was wrong?
I'll tell you why this decision has got to be questioned. There are 29 state governments in India, Faye. And do you believe that the other state governments that haven't branded an anti-Romeo squad aren't working 24/7 to make sure
very good
that
job,
women are
Sanjay
protected?
Jha. I'll tell you that.
Why
With
is
the
it that
kind of
only
cases
Uttar
that we
Pradesh-
deal with on this channel
Why-
every
just
day,
a
they're
minute,
not doing
just
a very good job.
Why is it? No, 1 minute. We can keep debating which state has done well, which state hasn't.
No,
But
I
the
have
truth
numbers.
is, why is Uttar Pradesh in the forefront of defining it? No, just give me 30 seconds. Why is Uttar Pradesh into an anti-Romeo squad? That's a question that we need to debate. I mean, today, for example, state governments have been functioning for 70 years. None of them has gone into this, what I call is institutionalizing by saying that any young man who's apparently suspected of doing some misdemeanor will be arrested. So I think the fundamental question of how, madam, just let me finish.
For 70 years, you have done nothing.
The police excesses
That is the whole problem. That is the whole problem.
You'll be nice and polite if you let somebody finish, madam.
So
the one is that there is a very disturbing potential here. There's a very disturbing potential here of abuse of authority by the policemen in Uttar Pradesh.
That is true. Okay, so we've acknowledged that, Sanjay Jha. We've acknowledged the fact that this law needs to be better defined. But let me just point out something to you. Let me point out something to you, Sanjay Jha. Let me point out something to our entire panel. Sanjay Jha, you are right that there are 29 different state governments and there is a central government. But let me tell you, there is a rape reported in India every 22 minutes. Every 4 hours in the city of Delhi, there is a rape reported. That the crime against women, there's a crime against women reported every 2 minutes. 2.24 million crimes against women in the last decade, Mr. Jha. Crime against women reported every hour. 66,000 cases of dowry over the last decade. Rajasthan and Maharashtra arrested 2,783 and 4,243 rapists respectively. Crime against women in Uttar Pradesh has gone up 61% in the last 5 years. 61%. 1,012 rape cases were registered in the last 5 years in Uttar Pradesh. 5,587 rapists were registered and were arrested by the UP police in 2014 alone. Uttar Pradesh saw 185 acid attacks in 2014 in 1 year. These are the numbers and these are statistics. These are statistics we cannot ignore. And the truth is that we have had a Stalkers and Anti-Stalker Act for a very long time. Rape has been outlawed. It has been against the law in our country from the very beginning. Acid attacks have been a crime from the very beginning. Groping and molestation and actions against the modesty of a woman have been crimes in this country from the very beginning. How did we wind up here? How did we, if that was enough, why are we having this conversation? My question completely circles back to the same thing. If 29 state governments were doing their jobs, why are the numbers this bad? I agree, as do many people on this panel, that the law needs to be better defined. We need to know, the police needs to know, the young people on the street need to know what they can and cannot do. But should we be opposing drastic measures? RP Singh, respond to Sanjay Jha, please.
This is anti-Romeo squad, but law is Gunda Act, section 294. The friend from the legal front will tell you that.
Right, Swapnil Kothari, does the Gunda Act... Yes. Does the Gunda Act define what a Romeo is?
No. And person will be booked under Gunda Act.
Mr. Singh, this is Mr. Kothari here. Just would like to clarify.
I'll tell you. How does it define?
No, 1 second. We have members of the legal fraternity here. We have members of the legal fraternity here, Mr. Singh. He will define.
Mr. Singh, you can let me. You can correct me if I'm wrong. but to the best of my knowledge, Section 294 that you're talking about is of IPC, which defines obscenity. And the Gunda Act does not define what a Romeo is. And you were kind enough to give us that definition, which was a good definition in my opinion. And I think once we define that, and for the exponentially increasing audience of the Magicbricks debate, I would like to point out something. That a similar case had taken place in Toronto, where a police officer had made a remark at a school of law, at a very reputed school of law, when we were discussing health safety, and he made a remark that, if women should stop dressing up like sluts if, they want to prevent themselves from being molested or raped. Now, that created a huge outcry. And he was suspended. Now, that was political maturity in that country. Do we have that political maturity in this country? I beg to differ. I don't think we have. I think we suffer from political myopia. Now, as far as putting that aside, we need to make it very, very objective and very, very clear. I'm not saying that do not give powers to the police. Please do. They must have the powers. Otherwise, how do we tackle the law and order situation? But at the same time, it's best that if we define something so they are absolutely safe and your intended goal. I'm not interested in whether Mr. Adityanath has made any...
Does the UP Gunda Act define a Romeo?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. It doesn't. Mr. Pawar.
Please read out the Gunda Act. Whenever there is a definition, whenever definition is not clear,
it defines
it's a provision in IPC or Criminal Procedure Code. General definition of that act is very well defined in IPC, and that is applicable to Gunda Act.
Correct. Absolutely.
So what is the general definition, Mr. Pawar? What is the general definition as a police officer of a Romeo? What is the general definition of a Romeo?
That obscenity is said
No,
that is 294 IPC.
Let me explain like this.
It's not defined.
We are unable to reach a consensus on this panel of what... Naveen Chomal, go ahead.
See, it is something like this.
Which makes the women uncomfortable by the way of touching, staring at her. Even a silence which makes a woman uncomfortable comes under this periphery.
Exactly, Yogita. See, let me come in. See, it is something like this, that the police are focused on their job. That is, they are trying to prevent the girls from being molested, eve-teased and all this thing. So let us not deviate from the issue, what the police are doing. Oh, for example, Bombay police had prepared an Eagle Squad. Eagle Squad, that was young men helping the police at the night. So we don't have to go into definition of what eagle means. Eagle is a bird. How can a man fly? So same way here the...
Naveen Chomal, nobody was arresting eagles. People are arresting Romeos. So it's important to understand what a Romeo is.
So here the police is very much focused. They know what eve-teasing is. They know what stalking is. And anybody who is troubling the woman, touching the woman or teasing them, the police are preventing them. So police is doing their proper job. So let us not deviate from the main issue and go into the definition of what Romeo means.
The UP Gunda Act, for the benefit of this audience, I might say, defines a Gunda, sir. It does not define a Romeo.
What is a Gunda? What is a Gunda?
A Gunda is somebody who commits an offence under Section 294 of the IPC, then who commits a rape, murder, theft, and whom the magistrate can call and say that please remove yourself from this from the vicinity of this territory and report yourself for the next 6 months, and certain other offences also under the Indian Penal Code which are against the human body. So that is what the definition. I don't think that.
Let me bring in Pankhurhi Pathak of the Samajwadi Party, who's waited patiently to have her say. Pankhurhi, go ahead, we can hear you.
See, this was the first day of this Anti-Romeo squad. There was this video that was shown on various channels where a group of youngsters were sitting together in Jhansi. There were, I think, 3 or 4 girls and a boy. And they were, they were asked, what are you doing here? And, they were made to stand up and they were humiliated. So I don't understand how such a thing can increase the security of women. So we need to see that there should be certain, guidelines on what you're supposed to do and the way this has been implemented. Just
if intention is right,
no,
the guideline will follow.
If
such an experience in women's safety, help the
I don't understand what the problem the cops have with that.
Okay.
I mean, why don't you guide them? Like, if the willpower is there, then you can set the rules right. You can help them with your wisdom of women's safety in your government. Help this government also. Why don't you come forward as a woman? Why don't you come forward and help them set the rules right? So that they differentiate who's the right person, who's actually eve-teasing and who's not eve-teasing. Why don't you just join the hands with government, irrespective of the political opposition? Why don't you?
Actually, Pankhurhi Pathak, very quickly, 30 seconds. Can you give the current government, Ms. Pathak, as you said, someone who lives in Lucknow for 15 days in every month, give a suggestion to this government on how to improve this regulation that they have brought in. What can they do to improve it?
See, there are various things that can be done. We already have this helpline in place that can be advertised, that can, we can create more awareness. We can give the technical know-how to young women, some app or something with which they can...
This particular rule.
So there are all these things that can be done.
This particular
and other than that, we should have a presence of police personnel in the vicinity of all colleges and schools.
But I believe that what we're looking at on our screen is exactly a presence of police personnel outside of colleges.
When a boy goes to a college to drop his sister and he is humiliated there,
this much sense of cops would have. I think this much sense of cops would have.
All right, okay, I've run out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, I've run out of time. Let me just put this out there. I acknowledge that there are several debates taking place right now about the new Chief Minister's views on various aspects, whether it is women or other issues that he has dealt with in the past and issues that he's dealing with right now. But if we isolate all of that and only look at this one thing, which is the crackdown on eve-teasing using what, in their own language, the government calls anti-Romeo squads. The truth is that this is the first time in a very long time that there is a government that has taken a strong stand to help women. And it is a strong stand, I will acknowledge, that we have been asking for on this channel repeatedly of every state government. And we've received very little reaction. The problem of eve-teasing, of groping, of molesting, of raping, of acid attacks, of murders, of gang rapes is rampant across our country. And no one is standing up for the women. No one. From the south to the north, the numbers are appalling. And I'll tell you that I personally believe that this sort of crackdown, especially in UP, was necessary. Having said that, like all other laws, in order to help the police who are doing their jobs and help the people to follow the law, there has to be a clear definition of what a Romeo is. So that this argument, and let's be clear, about the last 1 hour, we have not reached a consensus even on this panel of what a Romeo is. We've not reached a consensus on what makes women uncomfortable and what should and should not be done. It is up to the government, who are the lawmakers, to write out the law. Please do so. And there are plenty of like-minded people who will help you frame the law if you need people from the legal fraternity to help you write it out, which I'm sure you have in your team already. Thank you for watching.